You're tuned into No Good Music.
Here's your host, Rob, with special guest co-host, Ken Cook, all the way from down under.
Hey everybody, this is Rob, and I have a special co-host with me today. His name's Ken Cook, and I've been thinking about this, Ken. Ken is from the future. It is Saturday. It is Saturday at 9:30 at night. For me in New Jersey, and it's already Sunday where Ken is in Australia. It's like 11 o'clock. Ken, thank you for joining me. Ken's been a listener. I don't know how long. It's been a couple of years at least, right?
Yeah, about 3 years. Yeah.
So where are you in Australia? You said you're in South Australia?
Yeah, I'm in South Australia in a city called Adelaide, which is sort of right in the middle of Australia down the bottom. Up the top, we've got Darwin and Alice Springs and Uluru, and right down the bottom's where I am. I'm in between Sydney and Perth. So, yeah, we've got Australia's very spread out. So, but it's a coastal city where I live. So, yeah.
So we're going to talk today about, and this is a suggestion that Ken made, which we're talking about the Wrecking Crew, of course. We're going to tell you how they supposedly got their name. We're going to go through the musicians. They're basically a group of session musicians from the 60s and 70s that really didn't get recognition until much later when there was a documentary. And I think I have more information on them themselves, I think, than the documentary. I did watch the documentary. I'm not sure if I saw the documentary before. I just got the DVD. But
yeah.
And then Ken also has, I don't know if we're not going to show it right now. I see some guitars back there, but Ken has an item that has to do with one of the people in the Wrecking Crew. Before we get into this is sort of an introduction for our listeners. And so Ken, I'm not positive. Are you in a band, or are you solo guitarist, or you just do it for fun?
Well, it's sort of, I guess, what you call a working musician. So I teach guitar in a few schools here to kids. There's one just 5 minutes from my house and another one about 30 minutes away. And I also, I've been playing in local bands here for a long time, mainly cover bands and things. And I started doing solo guitar stuff probably about 12 years ago, and I really like that. And I was doing a lot of weddings and events and everything. Since COVID, that's kind of dropped right off. But I love the challenge of solo guitar, because we've got a guy here, Tommy Emmanuel. Do you know him?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably our biggest export as a guitarist. And I used to watch him as a kid. And so that's what I do. And I'm probably a few gigs a month here and there, and I do write a little bit of music, but nothing. I don't really push that too much, just for a bit of downtime, a bit of fun. So yeah.
I just wanted to check that because I'm pretty sure he's on an album of this person that I probably met. Ken and I messaged each other, and Ken, forgive me, but I have a bad memory with some things. That's why I should know what you do.
So do I, mate. Don't worry.
Let me see. Tommy, her name's Emma Jen Clark. I think I mentioned her to you. We interviewed her twice. She's moved from Australia to Nashville over 2 years ago, and she's still in Nashville. But she got him to. I don't think they're in the same room together. I think it was one of those things where he recorded his part, and then they put it all together.
Yeah, well, he started out in Australia in the late 70s and 80s as a session guy. Funny how we're talking about this today, but he played on, I think, some Air Supply songs and things like that. there's a couple of big Australian artists he played on, but they didn't really make it in America, I don't think. But he's played on some really big songs here when he was still, scraping together a living before he took the plunge and became a solo artist. But yeah, so yeah.
So he was sort of a session, probably guitarist.
In Sydney, yeah.
So if our listener, I don't. You probably heard of session musician who, in a band, they still have session musicians who basically come in when, say, someone needs, we need saxophone on this, and nobody in the band plays saxophone. So, and usually maybe someone that has to do with the studio, or will recommend someone or someone that's working basically with the studio. And they call them up, and if they're in the area, they come in, do their part. That's what the Wrecking Crew was. Now these people were on hundreds of top 40 hits. They're considered one of the most successful and prolific session recording units in history. Now, how did they get their name? Supposedly, it came from drummer Hal Blaine in 1977. He mentioned the name in an interview, and he basically, I think, back then. Actually, before 77, I think a lot of musicians went into the studio and they weren't dressed in ratty clothes. They were dressed nicely, and especially like a Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin, even like Ray Charles, people like that. And these people came in, they were wearing jeans, not ratty clothes, but just, they weren't, wearing dress clothes, and they were smoking, and they were. Hal Blaine said, I don't know who said to him or if he came up with this, that they would wreck, the recording business. So that's where Wrecking Crew came in. And then he mentioned it in his 1990 autobiography. Have you read this? Hal Blaine and the Wrecking Crew?
I thought I had it here. I got a couple of books back there. I think I lent it to a drummer. Actually, a friend of mine who was quite interested in it, and there's a lot of facts in that, like a lot of life lessons that he learned about the business, I think. But yeah, he's amazing.
He was a tough guy, like even from the documentary, he seemed like he wouldn't put up with anybody's crap.
No.
Now the book's been updated. Because when you go into Amazon or wherever, I'm not promoting Amazon, but wherever you go to buy an actual book, it doesn't say 1990. The last one was updated in 2010. And
yeah, wow.
And I didn't really know about this book, so I had to do a little research. Is this the same book? And it is the same book. There's only one book called Hal Blaine and the Wrecking Crew. Yeah. Now, there were two other names. Ken, do you know the two other names that they were sometimes called?
No, I didn't actually. No.
The Click, like being in a clique, and First Call Gang. First Call, because they were on call, to come in.
That makes sense.
Now, the beginnings can be traced to, the session musicians of the late 50s, including Irv Cotler, Earl Palmer, Howard Roberts, Hal Blaine, and a group headed by bassist and guitarist Ray Pullman. And it says sometimes referred to as the First Call Gang. Now, Earl Palmer, he was originally from New Orleans. He recorded with many of the Crescent City rhythm blues musicians such as Fats Domino. And he moved to LA in 57. And in the 60s, he played on hit records, Ike and Tina Turner, Glen Campbell, Jan and Dean, Righteous Brothers, the Beach Boys. We're going to talk about the Beach Boys a little bit, and Sonny and Cher. Now, he was the first session musician in Los Angeles to use an electric bass in recordings. I don't know what they were using before that.
I've seen some old videos of photos of Buddy Holly's band, who I'm also a big fan of. And the guy, the bass player in the Crickets, was one of the first guys among that era to use a Fender bass,
Oh, okay.
And there's a picture. Yeah, it's funny because it was all stand-up, and then sort of maybe 958, he started playing the electric bass a little bit. So it's pretty cool. I think Waylon Jennings played the bass in the Crickets as well. Anyway, got a bit off track there.
No, I think you're right. No, I like Buddy Holly. So the musicians were sometimes used as ghost players on recordings, credited to rock groups, and that's what we're going to talk about is the Wrecking Crew. How their names weren't on the albums, such as the Byrds' debut rendition of Bob Dylan's "Mr. Tambourine Man." First two albums by the Monkees, of course,
yeah.
And I think we'll go back and forth with the documentary a little bit because Peter Tork and Mickey Dolenz are in the documentary. And I think it's Peter who says he came in with his guitar and they said, no, we just need you for vocals. And he could
that's
play. Right?
That would really suck, I reckon, if you're a band and because I think it happened with the Byrds or someone as well. And I'm not sure, but because there's so many details of all the sessions, but I think it happened quite a bit. I reckon that would be horrible because they say, "Oh no, we just need the singer or whoever." And
well,
they just say,
with
"No,
the
these
Monkees,
guys."
it was like and also I think Mickey Dolenz in the documentary says how he didn't learn the drums till like the second season or of the show or the second year.
Wow.
And he actually learned, and he can play drums because then they had to go out and they had to play.
That would have been.
They couldn't.
Pretty
I don't think
strange.
they could pretend to play.
No.
Now, Hal Blaine is amazing because it says he has played on more than 140 top 10 hits. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And 40 number one hits. That's a huge amount of hit songs to say, you played drums on. And then we had drummer Earl Palmer, saxophonist Steve Douglas, guitarist Tommy Tedesco, who we're going to talk about, keyboards Larry. I'm bad with words.
Is it Netchell or something like that?
Netchell, yeah. He became a member of Bread. And then Blaine and Palmer were among the inaugural Sidemen inductees to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2000. This says 2000. I thought it. Oh, okay. I think they inducted the Wrecking Crew in 2000.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
In 2008, they were subject of the documentary, The Wrecking Crew. Let's talk about the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys, produced and co-wrote many, of his band's famous songs using the Wrecking Crew's talents in the mid-1960s.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it started with Pet Sounds, because it sounded like the early albums that was the band. But he claimed in the documentary that the other guy, because they were on the road or he had more time or, to be in the studio. I don't know, maybe he lived near the studio or it was part of connected to his house. Who knows?
Yeah.
I forget.
There's a definite sound there that they had perfected, the California surf sound, and you can kind of tell that it's the same guys playing now that when you know it is, because you hear those old records and like Surfing USA, and it's the same guitar sound, the same snare sound, the same bass sound, and it's like it's probably they're all the same guys rolling their eyes, and here we go.
But you probably thought it was okay. They're like when grunge came around, and there were other bands that trying to sound like Nirvana and the bigger bands.
Oh yeah.
So at this time period, maybe they didn't think anything of it because a lot of it all sounded the same anyway, the same kind of style of music. Now it says some reports falsely claim that Wrecking Crew replaced the Beach Boys on record after the first few hits. There's a misconception because there was incomplete written documentation of the recording sessions. And then it was found, and it was revealed that the Beach Boys' first 10 albums leading up to Pet Sounds and Smile were by and large the Beach Boys, original members, playing instruments on most of their singles. Because then they assumed, are they playing any of these? Are they the Monkees? Right? Well, the Monkees came, later, but...
Partridge Family too, I think. I'm not sure, but...
Yeah. And then the Byrds, you brought up the Byrds. They were the Ghost Players. I guess that was another name for them. Served as Ghost on the first single by the Byrds, "Mr. Tambourine Man," which we said, because Columbia Records, namely producer Terry Melcher, did not feel that the group, except Roger McGuinn, who played guitar on the single, were seasoned enough to deliver the kind of perfect take needed, particularly in light of the limited time and budget allocated to newly signed and unproven group on a label that was only just beginning to embrace rock. I had a friend, his name was Ken, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but he knew everything about music, and I never heard of the Wrecking Crew and this documentary, but I think it was around that time I found out I wish I could remember the band, but there was some intricate part in one of their songs, and I know they touched on it in the documentary with one of the bands, where they kind of, when they played live, they had to the guitars couldn't play it. And it might have been Tommy Tedesco that played that part. Whoever was in the band when they played live couldn't actually play. So they had to kind of glaze over, I think, that part. I don't know if it was a guitar solo or what it was. So then we have Sonny and Cher. I Got You, Babe, The Beat Goes On, which were produced by Sonny Bono. I know we're going to talk about Carol Kay.
Oh, yeah.
In the documentary, when she starts playing these bass lines that she came up with, they're so well known. And to have one person, I'm not saying every, bass line in every hit song, but The Beat Goes On, that bass is a big part of that song. And then Cher used the Wrecking Crew on her solo records, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. Jimmy Bowen produced Frank Sinatra's Strangers in the Night in 1966. And Mason Williams, I know this song, but I don't know, Classical Gas. I've heard of this song.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a list of the Wrecking Crew members, and it's probably not, and I'm not going to go all the way, I'm not going to say everybody, but there's around 65 maybe members. We got people on electric bass, double bass, drums, guitar. And I did look through the list, and sure enough, Carol Kay is the only woman. They always said she was the only woman, but I'm like, come on, there's got to be another woman, and no. And there was a couple people with names that sounded like it could be a woman's name. Oh, Claire Fisher, CLA. Yeah, that's a guy. Yep. Yeah. So she was the only woman.
Claire.
So we're gonna go through some of the people from the Wrecking Crew, and we'll start with Carol Kay. And like I just said, she was the only female. In the documentary, Hal Blaine makes some sexist comment about how it's a wonder that she didn't get a lawyer or something. I don't know if he said sexual harassment, but because back then, when she was the only woman, they probably make comments, like rude comments and stuff. But
oh yeah, back in that time.
Now, she was originally a guitarist, and she began work in Los Angeles in the late 50s. She played behind Richie Valens on La Bamba. And then she became a regular with Phil Spector's recordings and the Beach Boys, such as Help Me Rhonda. And she worked on Pet Sounds and the Smile LPs. She played on an estimated 10,000 recordings.
That's crazy.
In a career spanning more than 50 years. Now I have songs here that she played on California Girls, Help Me Rhonda, Sloop John B, Heroes and Villains, Good Vibrations, Simon and Garfunkel, Homeward Bound, Scarborough Fair, Beat Goes On, Sonny and Cher, These Boots Are Made for Walking. It's funny because in the documentary they talk about that song. I have this weird liking to, this was a 60s song, but I say cheesy 70s songs.
Yeah.
Like, Barry Manilow and, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Not the great songs, but David Soul, Don't Give Up on Us. I freaking love that song.
Oh,
it's a ballad.
Okay. Starsky and Hutch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So she was on I'm a Believer, the Monkees, You've Lost That Love and Feeling All Right, Joe Cocker. That's just to name a few. Now, Ken and I had, and I am going to talk about this, we had a little run-in with Carol. Carol is 91. I don't know when Ken had his run-in, but she is on Facebook a lot. And I do love the stories that she has. You know, she goes into great detail. I don't know if Ken's been blocked, so he can't. Sorry, Ken. I emailed Carol like a couple days ago, seeing if we could get an interview with her. And I made the mistake of mentioning the words wrecking crew.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little baffled though, because she's in the documentary. Like how Blaine had written his book before that, calling them the wrecking crew. I don't know. And then I emailed her again, apologizing for I don't know what. And then she emailed me back, and it was brutal. And the last thing she said, and goodbye. So
Oh my
anyway,
God.
but I told my wife, I said, even though, you know, it was kind of nice to be berated by a legend. You know, not many people, right?
You can say that.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I heard an interview with her on. I was walking before work one morning. I was going for walks in the morning, and I was listening to the radio here in Adelaide, and they had a little 2-minute interview with her. It was something to do. It wasn't promoting the Wrecking Crew movie or anything, but they were just talking about her. Maybe she got some award or something, and they didn't mention the Wrecking Crew name at all. And I didn't think that was weird at the time, but I did the same thing. I jumped on her website or something and sent her an email and said that was really great, and I've just discovered the Wrecking Crew and I'm really into it and researching guys. And she goes, don't ever use that name again if you want me to talk to you, have anything to do with you at all. And I said, well,
Wow.
I'm really sorry. And she kind of did the same thing. She said, good luck to you, and then full stop. And then when I tried to go on her page, I couldn't get on there or something on Facebook.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah. But I don't get it either, Rob. Like, because she's had a new legion of fans, you know, because of that DVD.
Yeah. She has a book that she wrote, and I don't know. I don't think the other members that are still alive have a problem with the name.
No.
I don't know. What now? Was this last year? Was this last
year? Did that happen? No, that was, geez, probably 10 years ago, I reckon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Because last year she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an individual. And that's why she didn't accept the award, which that I can kind of understand maybe, because she wanted to honor, maybe the Wrecking Crew isn't inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as the Wrecking, but even if they were, she doesn't like the name. So I don't know, you know, what are you going to do?
I really think it's cool. You know, like I think it's a great name.
Yeah. And to get finally recognition, you know, you can't go back in time and say, well, nobody recognized us back then. Well, they didn't, and it was awful. But I mean, I'm going to go into something at the end of this here, where I think it's still going on with not being recognized. And you probably know, because even the new albums, you can't put everybody's name on the album.
No, a lot of country albums, songs are like that. There's a guy called Brent Mason, who's a guitarist in Nashville, and he's like the modern version of the Wrecking Crew, and he's played on thousands of hits, but you never see his name mentioned on any of the songs that, you know, get mentioned on Facebook or whatever, or singles. It's just the artist's name, but he's on so many of them. But I don't think he's got a problem not being noticed or anything, because he makes a lot of money.
I'm going to open a beer.
Oh,
I know it's morning there for you.
Yeah, a bit early, although I'm Australian, so, you know.
My drinking time, you know. So this is a beer I made.
Yeah. That's pretty, what's it called again?
Oh, actually, wait a minute. Oh, this is one I'm not sure what this beer is, because I pulled this out of Crawl Space the other night. And I should mark them because it has a gold cap. I'm thinking
Oh,
it's
yeah.
I'm thinking it's a Vienna
Oh,
lager,
okay.
a little dark.
Is it sweet then? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't put labels on all these because my friend Jeremy, I hadn't seen him in a while, so I actually had like
Mm.
5 different beers to give him to try that I had
Ah,
made
of
by that
yours.
time. I saved the last ones for him,
That's pretty
but
cool.
then he gave me back the bottles, and I couldn't get the labels off, the glue,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
just
Wow.
recycled them because I reuse I buy these bottles,
Mm.
but if I do buy beer, I'll buy the ones with the not the twist offs you can't reuse, but the
Mm.
Sierra Nevada are the best for the. I found out
Oh,
the label comes off pretty good.
oh,
So
yeah. I guess you live and learn.
so the next person in the wrecking, I picked out some names that were more prominent, than others, and not to discredit anyone, but some people they may have only been on, one hit. They might have been,
Mm.
but they still put in their time. But Tommy Tedesco, seeing this documentary, he seemed like such a great guy. There's a lot of live footage of him telling jokes and just being, I don't know. I think he had a good sense of humor, and he's no longer with us. And of course, his son was the one who did the documentary. So he played lead guitar, bass for countless tracks, including signature Spanish flamenco style riffs. Now, I can't remember. And I was going to talk about, there's a lot of bonus material on the DVD. I don't know if you have the DVD set.
I I do, yeah. I haven't watched it
Okay.
for a while.
Okay.
Mm.
But there's supposedly 6 hours.
Oh,
I was looking at it on my computer, and I go in there and I see like there's just like 5 videos and each are 8 minutes. I'm like, how's this 6 hours? And here I went into just the guitar players. There are
ah,
sections for each drums,
yeah.
engineers, but I think it's on the bonus disc where Tommy is saying how someone asked him to play a Spanish guitar part, and he plays it, and then he said, then I had someone else needed I don't know, it was a different country's kind of music, and he
Mm.
plays the same thing, and he's like, and I
Yeah.
he's and he did that for like 3 different things. He
Yeah, he had a lot of tricks.
And then the story with Glen Campbell, where Glen Campbell's, sitting and Tommy's playing, and they're like, "What are you playing?" And supposedly he had the music upside down, supposedly, because I don't even know how you
Mm.
can play. I don't even know if you could play it upside down, the notes.
No.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down the songs that he was on and the stuff, and then Ken's gonna show us something that belonged to Tommy. So I think that's
Mm.
very, very cool. Tommy was on Up, Up and Away. He played lead guitar on that song. And that's the documentary, I think, starts, if I'm correct, with that song, Up, Up and Away. Be My Baby, MacArthur Park, Surf City, Jan and Dean, Dunkashane, Wayne Newton. And then TV themes. This is amazing to me. Bonanza, MASH, The Twilight Zone, Green Acres, Gilligan's Island, Batman, Dallas, and soundtracks The Godfather, The French Connection, and Jaws. I'm sure he played on a lot more.
Yeah.
Now, Ken, in Australia, when you were growing up, this is going to be a naive question, but I don't know because I didn't grow up in Australia. But you had American TV shows?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They started coming in thick and fast in the 70s, because I think
Okay.
you and I are around the same age. I'm 57, and I was brought up on a TV diet of British TV by my parents, but they
Okay.
wouldn't let us watch some of those shows for a while because they thought they were a bit crazy, and because the British TV was so conservative. But yeah, I was, I watched Batman, the Hulk, Bonanza, After School, all those shows, like all the ones you just
Hmm.
mentioned, Chips, and Brady Bunch was on rotation, and Gilligan's Island every day for about
Yeah.
10 years. Till I was a teenager, it was still on TV every night at 5:30.
My first and probably only Australian, I want to say it was an Australian show, was Paul Hogan.
Oh, have you seen that?
They play,
Wow.
yeah, whatever channel it was back in the 70s played the Paul Hogan show. And I'll never forget the one skit. I don't remember much about it, where this pizza factory blew up and these pizzas were flying. Guy's on his bike and a pizza hits him. And then Paul had a skit where he was a superhero or something. And I'm like positive this was before Crocodile Dundee. Maybe it was after because of the movie and they started carrying it. But we got Benny Hill, whatever channel this was. We got Benny Hill and Paul Hogan.
Wow.
Yeah. So Ken, you have an item that belonged to Tommy Tedesco.
I do. Yes. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just quickly tell you and the listeners how it came to be. I started looking into the Wrecking Crew stuff about 2009, I think, 10. And I got really fascinated by all the stories of all the musicians. And then somehow I think it was through Facebook, I heard that his son was making the movie and he was looking for crowdfunding because it was going to cost so much money because of all the music clips they need to play in the movie. So I ended up being a very, very small contributor to the financial side of it. And I only put in like $20, $50 or something like that. And I stayed in contact with Denny because he thought it was really interesting that a guy from Adelaide was interested in his dad's career. And because I still am blown away by Tommy Tedesco's skills. There's just not many people around like that. So after he passed quite a long time ago, I think it was in the 90s, but they decided in about 2017, 18, he said, hey, we're going to sell off some of my dad's instruments. And I went, wow. He said, you might want to have a look at the auction. And I couldn't afford any of the electric guitars or acoustic guitars, but it did have one of these on there, which is pretty cool. And this is it's spelled Laud. I think it's Laud or something, Laud. But it's got I don't know if you'll be able to hear it if I play it, but it's really hard to play. See that every string is doubled, so it's a 12 string.
Nice.
But it's tuned. I'll strum it, but I don't know if you'll be able to hear it.
Yeah.
So, can you hear that?
Yeah, I can kind of hear it. I don't know. We're having trouble with the audio.
Yeah. So no, that's okay. I got this on the auction and I turned 50 the year I bought it. So I sort of bought it for myself for my 50th birthday. And it came in this big package and it even has the old music, LA Music price tag that was still in it. Yeah, $125.
Nice.
And Denny told me, his son, he said, I think Dad got rung up. It's because sometimes John Williams and those sort of guys would ring him up personally and say, hey, Tommy, next Wednesday we're recording, this sort of movie soundtrack. Have you got a whatever instrument? And he would say, no, but I'll get one. And he'd never played one before. And I think I'm pretty sure Denny seems to think this was used on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade or something like that.
Nice.
So, yeah, because it sounds like you're in Morocco or something when you play it. You can't play like, Hotel California on it or anything.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so it's pretty cool because it sits here in the room where I do my guitar practice and it kind of reminds me to,
And he could have only played it a couple of times too. I mean, it looks in pretty good condition.
Yeah, well, there's a photo somewhere of, I think it's in a Guitar Player magazine. It's an ad for guitar strings and Tommy's sitting there amongst all these instruments and this one's sitting on the floor in front of him.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He had about 2 or 3 similar ones, but yeah, to buy that I was pretty excited when it turned up in the post. They got a notification that it was in this huge box. I mean, I'm 6'3", but it was up to my chest, this box. Yeah, so that's it. And
it was affordable? You didn't have to take out a loan?
Well, it was pretty expensive. It was, I think, about $400 American, I think.
Okay.
But the crazy thing was, I hope this isn't going off track too much, but when I contacted the auction company, I said, if I buy that, how much would it cost to send to Australia? And the guy, it was a young guy, I think, and he said, about $50. And I said, oh, okay, I'll buy it then. And then they sent me an invoice after I bought it, and the shipping was $250. And I said, hang on. Like, and I sent them the email that I think
Yeah.
was a young guy. And they said, no, that's cool. If that's what we quoted you, then that's what we
Yeah.
have to pay. So I
Yeah.
got it for a bargain, really.
They probably had a talk with him,
Yeah.
don't quote anything until you weigh it. And
Don't send anything to Australia.
because I have a printing business and I do
Mm,
ship some stuff and I have
mm,
to I have to figure out by weight and, but I want to be pretty accurate because it's just me. And if I'm off
mm.
by even $20 or so, that's $20 I'm, out. But anyway,
Yeah.
no, that's cool. And if you could find like, if there's a documentary on that movie, but if you're not sure of the movie, you're going to have to watch every,
Yeah.
documentary on like the Indiana Jones movie and see if there's, because I have seen some stuff with music with soundtracks where they, document them recording the
Mm,
songs and maybe there's something with
yeah.
him playing that.
Yeah. I know that he used to take, there's a photo of his car boot, where he had a photo of the boot that was up and you can see all the different guitars just chucked in the
Hmm.
back of his car. He just used to
Yeah,
throw them all in there. And
nice.
because he didn't know what they were going to ask for. So that's what blows me away about the
Yeah.
skills, is because, to just turn up and play a flamenco thing and then say the next session, oh, you're going to be playing some funky stuff on the Rockford Files or something, in a
Hmm.
car chase. And then the next, he might be playing with Dean Martin or something at night time, playing smooth jazz kind of, crooner
Yeah.
stuff. So it's pretty amazing.
So next I want to talk about Glen Campbell. I'm not sure if it was Glen Campbell who said in the documentary that he didn't read music. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. He didn't.
so Glen Campbell, of course, I always heard that he was on some of the Monkees stuff,
Mm.
even before I think this documentary might have been maybe it was around the time the documentary came out. I don't know. Because the documentary's been out for almost, 20 years or more. When it first came out, I think it officially came out like 10, 11 years ago, officially. Glen Campbell was on I Get Around, Help Me Rhonda. Of course, Pet Sounds, Wouldn't It Be Nice? He's playing on. And then Strangers in the Night. And the Monkees, more of the Monkees album, Mary Mary. Actually, maybe he was on some bigger hits. I only have, Papa Jean's Blues, Sweet Young Thing. Maybe he wasn't on like Daydream Believer or, those
No,
songs.
I'm not sure.
He was also Be My Baby, What I'd Say by Elvis.
Wow.
It's the cover from Viva Las Vegas. And then we have Earl Palmer. He was a drummer. And before the Wrecking Crew, Tutti Frutti, Little Richard, Fats Domino, I'm Walking, I Hear You Knocking, Let the Good Times Roll, Shirley and Lee. He moved to Los Angeles in 57, and he was on You Send Me, Twisting the Night Away, Cupid, Sam
Wow.
Cooke. It seems they were all on You Lost That Lovin' Feeling. I don't know. I have the feeling they were all called
Yeah,
in.
I think that too. I have a bit of a laugh sometimes because a lot of people go, "Oh, that was a great session, man." All these, and I thought, how many people were on that session?
And then he also did, and we're talking about Earl Palmer, television and film themes, The Flintstones, The Brady Bunch, I Dream of Jeannie. He was on Batman too,
Wow.
The Partridge Family. And then the big one is Hal Blaine. He played
Oh,
on Elvis's Can't Help Falling in Love. And we talked about him being on 140 top 10 hits. I
mm,
Got You, Babe, Mr. Tambourine Man. All these were on all these people were on the same Strangers in the Night again.
yeah.
Um, and we're not going to talk about all his songs, but now in the 70s to currently, there was, diminished output starting in the 70s.
Mm,
And according to Wikipedia, by middle of 1968, popular music was changing again because it was getting heavy in subject matter because of Bobby Kennedy, assassination, Martin Luther
mm,
King, what was going on in Vietnam. Top 40 radio radio gradually began to lose step with the times. Probably not until, the mid 70s. I don't know exactly, when it started to get back into the more novelty songs, maybe.
Yeah, the corny stuff.
Yeah. Now they remained in demand in the early 70s. And by the end of 73, like we just said, they began to experience a downturn in bookings. And I have here, unlike earlier bands as the Monkees, the Grassroots, the Partridge Family, David Cassidy, they often utilized the Wrecking Crew for backing tracks. Rock groups in the early to mid 70s began to stipulate, this is another thing, that in the recording contracts, that they be allowed to play their own instruments.
Yeah, that's funny.
Whether they could play them well or not. I think of the Sex Pistols.
Oh my God.
Could they really play their instruments? Could Sid Vicious really play the bass?
Imagine what the guys would have said, the Wrecking Crew guys would have said about Sex Pistols.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
They can barely play two notes,
And then also there was technological advances, 16-track, 24-track recording machines. You could do multi-channel. And then also synthesizers came into play, and also drum machines, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, some of them had careers after, and one, of course, was Glen Campbell. He had hits, Wichita Lineman, Rhinestone Cowboy, Southern Nights. He wasn't a session musician anymore. He was basically a hit maker himself.
I just to jump in there, I saw Glen Campbell in concert probably in the late 90s here in Adelaide. And a lot of my friends gave me a lot of, I won't say it, but yeah,
grief.
They thought it was hilarious. Yeah, grief for going to see him. Like, what are you doing? And I said, look, it's hard to explain, but because he would get up there and sing his hits, and in between a few verses, he would just rip out this little fill of notes. It was just mind blowing, and he wasn't even watching, and it was just like these beautiful runs he was doing. And that's why I went to the concert, because I thought, yeah, sure, he's going to play all these cheesy stuff, and there's really a lot of old people there. But just to see that show was amazing. Then he got dementia or something after that. So
I saw Glen Campbell.
Oh, he did
on his last tour, and it was really sad. And then my friend Stacy, he always liked. Not that I don't like Glen Campbell, but he was, he wanted to go see Glen Campbell, and I told a friend the other day, I said, I'm more like, if I kind of like the music and I haven't seen them before, yeah, I'll go. Where some of my friends are like, no, I ain't going to see, ticket could be free, and they only want to see anyway. So, but it was sad because he had a teleprompter for the lyrics. But his family, Ashley Campbell, she plays the banjo. Oh my God, she was there with her father the whole time. They did dueling banjo and guitar. And even though he had Alzheimer's, he was on it. I think it was because it wasn't the recalling stuff. It was recalling stuff right away, and he could still do that. But I remember him looking at one of the songs and saying, wow, these are great lyrics. And it was one of his hit songs. And that's what, it was, I'll never forget it, but I'm glad I saw him. I mean, it wasn't a bad concert, and we were in like the third row, and I got really cool pictures. I posted them at the time. This was, a while ago, and I think I tagged Ashley in them. She actually commented on them, so that was good enough for me, because I got pictures of her and him, and we were really close, and you could take pictures. So Leon Russell was a session, player, and Mac Rabenik. Do you know who Mac Rabenik is?
Is that Dr. something? What's his name?
Dr. John. You were almost there. Yeah. No. So they both went on to solo careers. They had hits. I saw Leon Russell too. I saw him. My wife was kind of disappointed because we went to see Elton John. We were behind the stage, but there was nothing obstructing our view. And anyway, there were two pianos there, and we're like, oh, who's going to come out? And we thought maybe Billy Joel was going to, it wasn't the Billy Joel tour or Elton John, Billy Joel. So my wife was curious as to who, and it was Leon Russell. My wife knew nothing about Leon Russell, and because he was a strange guy. And
I think he came here.
That was like, he didn't live too much longer after, might have passed away a couple years after that. So.
I've read. We've actually got a book here of the Wrecking Crew, which I bought probably 6 or 7 years ago, which is a really good one.
Oh, I saw that one on Amazon. Yeah,
but there's a few stories in there about Leon Russell, and he's very, very quiet sort of country guy that came down, into Los Angeles, and he didn't say a lot at all. But when the late '60s came around, he started drinking drugs, long hair. He's almost unrecognizable from like how he started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have one of his albums. You can see my vinyl albums behind me, but I used to do these. I don't know if you saw my videos when I had the mystery boxes. I'd buy a box. And one of them was I think it was Carney, Leon Russell album was in one of those boxes. Yeah. There were some good albums in those, some there weren't. And I actually recycle, because it's plastic. I want the album.
Yeah.
In the recycling. So Jim Keltner was another person who went on to a successful career. He was also a drummer. There were a lot of drummers, a lot of guitarists, a lot of drummers. I noticed, in this group of people, there was like one harmonica player in the Wrecking Crew.
Got to hang out with his little case, and all the other guys have to bring all their guitars, and he turns up with a little bag. Hi, fellas.
Or he has it in his back pocket. Yeah. Jim Horn, he was on a lot of stuff, and he played. I think he played he played the flute. What else did he play? Did he play the saxophone?
Yeah,
with a name like Horn. Come on, right?
Yeah.
So Jim Keltner, he also was in Ringo Starr's All-Star Band. Which I always wanted to see, and I don't know how much longer they're going to, he's going to be doing that. And get this guy was also in the Traveling Wilburys. Traveling Wilburys?
Yeah, I love the Traveling Wilburys. Yeah.
He was the drummer, Buster Sideberry. I don't know why they gave him that. I thought their name was Wilbury. And then in 2001, believe it or not, the members of the Wrecking Crew reunited in the studio with David Cassidy.
Wow.
To recreate his hit songs from the 70s, both solo and with the Partridge Family. And it was the album Now and Then. It went on to platinum in 2002. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything. I don't know a lot about the later parts of what these guys did. So I'm learning a lot today. It's cool.
Now, we're not going to go through every member who's still alive, but I'm just going to go down the list here. Carol Kay, of course, 91. Let's see, Don Randy, 89. He was a keyboardist and frequent arranger for Phil Spector and the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
James Burton, 86.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Recorded with Elvis and Ricky Nelson. Louis Shelton is 85.
Do you know he lives in Australia?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he lives on the Gold Coast in Queensland.
You know what? Some of these people are also still active. Like, not all of them. I know Carol pretty much, she's not out there, playing with other bands. But someone like Plas Johnson is 94. And I think he's on Instagram or somewhere. I saw a picture of him recently. It looks like he's like about to play somewhere.
He was the Pink Panther guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. He did the solo on that. Like Herb Alpert, who was in the doc, who I love. I actually like. I got a couple Tijuana Brass albums in those mystery boxes, and I never owned any. And I'm like, I freaking love this stuff. I bought the Christmas album. It's a Christmas. But
that's so cool.
Yeah, so Herb Alpert, I think, is probably 90, 91. And I saw a video a couple weeks ago. He's getting ready to tour. and he has
Wow.
his horn and he's playing, the famous song of his, a little bit
Jeez.
of it. Yeah.
That's that's amazing.
Let's see who else is Chuck Berghofer is 88. He's a bass player. Chuck Finley, 878. Jim Horn's still with us, 85.
Jeez.
Uh,
Wow.
and I think that was it. We can talk about the documentary. Now, did you watch when did you first watch the documentary? When it,
Ah, years ago, it was on. I think I think Denny sent me a link to it or something, like a premiere thing that we could watch once through.
oh,
I
okay.
don't know what might have been on Vimeo or one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was on. I got it on DVD straight away, or I ordered it, and then it was on Netflix for a limited time as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I was amazed to see those people talking around the table like that. One thing I was going to say was I meant to mention before, if anyone's interested, there's a book that I bought. Wow, probably 10, 15 years ago. This is Tommy Tedesco wrote a biography,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh wow.
it's all that kind of humor that he had in the
Oh
movie,
wow.
but he's got a list in here like of movies that he played on. It starts on this page,
Yeah.
and then it goes over to that.
Wow.
And it's not even all of them. And there's records, TV shows, all the artists he's played with, but it's interjected with a lot of funny stories about playing in the studio and musicians daring each other on. But it's a really good book. I think I got it on
Mm-hmm.
Amazon.
I'll have to look
Yeah,
for
but
that.
I meant to mention that before. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. In the documentary, they show, when he passed away and all the news reports, especially like MTV, and he should have been known before that. He should have been known. I mean, the guy, like
Mm,
you said, the list in that book you just showed me, there's hundreds and hundreds of movies that he was a
yeah.
part of. Yeah, but I think a lot of people before social media maybe, and they didn't really pay attention to they only looked at who was on the cover of the album,
Mm,
or even the soundtrack.
yeah.
Soundtracks. You had Danny Elfman's a very famous composer, right?
Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But there could be other musicians on all his soundtrack that I don't know. I know Danny
Mm,
Elfman. Oh, this is a Danny
hmm.
Elfman soundtrack. I know he
Yeah,
wrote the theme to The Simpsons, Danny Elfman. But
that's right. Yeah.
but Edward Scissorhands, all the Tim Burton stuff, and but there's, what I'm saying. There's other musicians in there. It's not just Danny Elfman from Oingo Boingo.
Oh, was he? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did know just on the guitar side of things, there was a guy later on in the 70s called Larry Carlton, and Tommy Tedesco kind of worked with him as he was coming up through the ranks. And
Hmm.
then he sort of took over that stuff, and Steve Lukather, and then
Yeah,
Dean
him I've heard
Parks.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, Dean Parks has been I guess, a Tommy Tedesco sort of guy in the shadows, but he's played on thousands of hit songs and movies, and
Hmm.
but you just don't. There's a guy that used to play with Rick Springfield too, called Tim Pierce, and he's again, he's on YouTube and everything, but he played on a hell of a lot of songs as well back then in the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
So I went through the Beach Boys album. They had an album out in 1979 called 2020, and I
Yeah.
counted how many session musicians are on that album. This is 79, so it's at the tail end of them using, and it was 48
That's
session
crazy.
musicians. 48
48.
besides the, band. Now the thing is, I have Apple Music and you can go into the credits, but they don't tell
Mm,
you if you go on Wikipedia. Back in the 60s, 70s, we didn't have, computer, we didn't have internet, but now
mm.
you can go in and see, it'll tell you all the musicians. I thought it was interesting in 1980, Keeping the Summer Alive. They had 19 session musicians, but Hal
Wow.
Blaine is on that album still, 1980.
Is it
Yep.
1980? Wow.
And
Mm.
Jim Horn is on one of the
Huh.
songs.
That's cool.
Now, I want to compare it to today because I brushed upon it a little bit, and then I'll talk about the documentary a little bit again. I'm a big fan of Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
So think about the pop artist of today. If you go on their Wikipedia pages and their albums, they have a massive amount of musicians, of which none are mentioned. Now, this is Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia, that's her second album. But all you get is this in here, and it's like really small print. But her thank yous are first names, and they're not the musicians. And what's very weird is Chad Smith is on this album. I don't think I knew it till today because I went in. He's not on here. He's not mentioned. He's on one track on this playing drums. So I think it still goes on today.
Wow.
She has 39 people on this album. 39. Not one is mentioned. She's, like I said, she's mentioning first names. And I love Dua Lipa, but I think it goes on, not just her. You couldn't possibly put maybe all the names on the albums, but I think some of them used to put who was playing the instruments.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, my dad was a big fan of Olivia Newton-John,
Oh, I love her.
He had a couple of her country albums, and I'm pretty sure that I used to look at the albums and it would say who played guitar on them and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, because then I'd start seeing those names on other Australian records, and I think, oh, they must be guys that you don't really know, but they're in the studios or something. I didn't know what it was, because even some of the Kiss albums, I was horrified to find out later on that Kiss didn't play on some of their, like, Unmasked, and Peter Criss didn't play on Unmasked. And
when they left and they didn't tell anybody, they just still wanted to sell albums. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's, that I think, was it Creatures of the Night or something? Like, Ace Frehley didn't even play it on.
I always say I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan, but I like a lot of music. But like Kiss, Kiss is, you can't see my poster back here, but just like was in high school, I have Kiss framed back here, of them playing live.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think with Kiss, when they didn't take the makeup off yet, so that was still selling the albums, especially for me. Oh, it's another album with even Unmasked. It's with the original members. I'm meeting Peter Criss.
Yeah,
for the second time.
Is he 80 now or something?
Yeah, he's 80. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but he's been doing autograph shows because he had a new album out last year.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what? It's weird. It's a pretty decent album, but it's not gonna, you're not gonna hear it. I don't even know what the radio is anymore. I was gonna say on the radio, but it's not like it would go to the, the top 40 or anything, but it's a little disappointing for me because his voice has tapered out. You think it'd be rougher. And that was the appeal to me with Peter Criss. His voice, he had a unique voice. And now it's smoothed out a little bit.
Yeah. I really liked his voice. When I was a kid, I thought that solo album of his was really cool. But when I listen to it now, there's about 4 songs that I like, and the rest are pretty bad. But his voice was really cool, But getting back to the session thing, I read an interview once with Steve Lukather from, Toto, and he said that once he turned up to a studio in LA in the early 80s, and there was some other guys there tracking bass and another guy doing some keys. And he said, oh, so is this for Kiss today? And they go, yeah, this is for the new album. Wow. He goes, where are they? They weren't even there. So I think, maybe Gene played, I don't know, but that's that studio musician thing again, because you never see anything on their albums about who did what. And all those keyboards on Dynasty, as we say here. It's pretty. It's always happens. I think, like you say, with Dua Lipa, I didn't think of that, but
even I remember what Beyonce when because we would do we still do the beginning of the year. We do album roulette, which I came up with, which is great. We randomly pick 3 albums, like either Paste Magazine, Rolling Stone, like their top 50, top 100. We do a random number generator, and you have to listen to those albums and review them. So anyway, one of them was Beyonce. And I started to realize how many freaking like songwriters are on these songs. There's like 20, how are 20 people writing a song? Oh, this guy wrote like 4 words, and then okay, he wrote the next 4 words. I mean, how do you have 20 people in a room writing a song? That's just
Yeah, I had to purchase some sheet music for my guitar students a couple of years ago. It was a Britney Spears song, and it had 10 or 12 songwriters listed at the top of it. I thought, wow. So I'm buying this sheet music and paying all those guys. It costs about $7 to buy it.
Yeah.
And I think they're all going to get 30 cents of this.
Yeah. The documentary we'll get back to is it premiered in 2008 at the Southwest Film Festival, and it didn't receive the commercial release until 2015.
Wow.
It's been out for 11 years. And like I said, I don't know. I can't say for sure if I saw it or not. I know my friend Ken was telling me to see it, but I don't think it was available. I don't think I was going to pay to watch it or something at that point. I don't know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, the documentary is 101 minutes. It's, an hour and 41 minutes. And like I said before, it has 6 hours of extra material. I would basically, I don't know when you rent it. You probably don't get the extra material, but it is worth it. The DVD is probably like, I don't know, $10. But I want to go through the 6 hours and look at, because they're mostly interviews.
Yeah.
The one with Tommy is him playing for 8 minutes. Yeah. So you get that extra.
I don't think I've got, I'm just going to have a quick look.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, no, mine's just a basic
It's
DVD.
just one disc.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
There was also a CD that came out. I forget. It might have been on a website, but it's a little 4 CD thing.
Oh, okay.
So,
oh wow.
And it's got some really. I'm just holding it up because it's got some really cool artwork on it. Like they've done like real 60s, like what a studio log sheet would look like, and pictures of the musicians, and shots of that. Plus this one, crew cuts, which is kind of like a deep cut. There's one of those pictures I was telling you about Tommy Tedesco's car boot.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's the instrument there that I've got.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool.
So are there actual songs on, like some of the songs?
Yeah, they've got the bulk of it is kind of the 60s. The Richie Valens, the Routers, the Mamas and Papas, Beach Boys, Barry McGuire, Herb Alpert, Sonny and Cher, Glen Campbell, Wichita Lineman, all that. It's actually a really good album, but I must admit I haven't listened to it a lot. I just like the look of it. It looks really cool. But I love that period. I don't know why. I just always have. I think also realizing that those guys played on the soundtrack of all the TV shows I watched as a kid. Elvis movies. Yeah.
Each decade has their own, but I think the 60s has a ton of great music. But it seems like these people played on most of the most of the hits. They were a big part of this.
Well, someone told me that, I think it's in an interview somewhere in a Guitar Player magazine, where Tommy was earning over $200,000 a year in the 80s, 70s. And that's a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't learn anywhere near that, and I don't do what he does. But
even now it would be decent.
I think Carol Kay was one of them too. I think she mentions it somewhere. She was earning. She said one year I earned more than the president, something like that. So, but I think she grew up pretty rough. Like she had to take care of her mum might have been really poor, and I think her dad might have died. So she started working really young.
Yeah, I'd like to read her book.
Yeah,
I don't know if she'll send it to me, but she might see my name and just kidding.
It might be come up with a little block thing on it or something.
Yeah. The documentary, it starts, we hear some voices in a recording studio, and then it says Pet Sound Session. So that's what it starts with, 1965. I think the beginning is really cool. It goes through some songs, images, you hear the chipmunks.
Mm.
I think it's a pretty cool beginning to the documentary. And then we see Brian Wilson. And of course, like we said, this was first put out in 2008. So I don't know when it was filmed. So you're talking 20 years ago. And sadly, some of these people are not with us anymore, especially Brian Wilson, Dick Clark. But Brian Wilson starts off, he says the Wrecking Crew was the focal point of the music. They were the ones with all the spirit and all the know-how, especially for rock and roll music. And then Dick Clark said, I had no idea that certain people didn't play their own records till the Monkees came along.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And then there's a nice introduction by Danny. I assume it's Danny narrating the documentary. And then we see the news announcements, people announcing Tommy's death. He died in 1997. He was 67. Then we hear his son announced the documentary at this point. Here's the irony. You spend your whole life playing guitar, creating guitar licks that people all around the world recognize, but nobody knows your name until you're dead. And then even in the end, they misspell your name and call you Tony Tedesco instead of Tommy, which one of the news persons. I think the documentary is good, but there's certain things that I think it could have been better.
More detailed. Yeah.
Well, what I noticed, and this is a weird thing, is that when you go into the DVD, if you're going pick a scene, you can go to scene selection. They have names. The names don't correspond with the documentary itself.
Oh.
I find that I'm not a very, anal person about this stuff, but if you were looking for a certain part and that you'd have to figure out, oh, that's here. I mean, I think that was not good because, it starts out with assembly line. Well, in the scene selection, it's called the know-how.
Oh.
Going West corresponds to studio musicians. And Carol Kane's section is named one of the guys. So you can kind of figure that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
Now I figured out there was 12 segments to the documentary. We got assembly line, and this is where we find out that it's the first time in about 20 years that all four of these people were in the same room, and it's his father, Hal Blaine, Carol Kay, and Plas Johnson are all together. And throughout the documentary, it goes back and forth to them and other famous, musicians talking about the recording sessions. And you have Going West, and it seemed like LA, was the place to be. And that's where the musicians flocked. Rock and roll, talk about Ricky Nelson. And even the sections were weird because, like rock and roll, they feature Ricky Nelson, the Beach Boys. Tommy Tedesco is all about Tommy. And then it gets into, this was another confusing section. It was Plas Johnson. And it doesn't go into another section, but it just goes into, and maybe it's because he played with these people, the Monkees, the Mamas, and the Papas. And Herb Alpert's in there. May all have to do with him. I don't. And then we got Hal Blaine reprise, and he talks about his divorce, which is awful. He had to sell all his gold records, his cars, and it almost seemed around the same time he lost his gig with John Denver for one reason or another.
Wow.
And he was making $5,000 a week,
Wow.
Which was,
I read that.
What's $5,000 a week? That's like 260,000 a year.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I read somewhere with him that at one stage he was working in a car park. He was a car park attendant or something like that. I think that's a true story because he was really broke.
Big thing, and maybe this is with Carol, is that, they really didn't get compensated after the fact, but some of these people work for scale. They work for the day. That's it. I just remember the horror movie, The Blair Witch Project. Those three people, they got paid something like maybe $1,000, maybe not even that, maybe $1,000. Wow. They didn't get any they didn't think the movie would do what it did.
Oh my God.
And now they are doing autograph shows. now,
Oh,
make some
jeez.
money. But it's sad when you
Wow.
find out about these movies that make millions and millions, and the people that were in them, they're on the
Mm.
poster, they're on, the DVD. They don't get nothing.
Yeah. Because when you think of like, the beat goes on, that's the first thing you hear pretty much is the bass line, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I think it is. And she should have been listed as a songwriter, It's wrong.
it is.
In the Tommy Tedesco book, I think some things that got royalties for, like residual payments, but not very much, I don't think. Maybe
Yeah,
for movies, maybe,
that's what
or
I was thinking.
some
Maybe
TV shows.
maybe the movie soundtracks, I would think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just read a book by about the Shangri-Las, it's the classic thing back then of just signing your life away, and they basically broke up because everyone was suing everybody, and there was the mob
Mhm.
involved in the record company, and people were threatening people about their music, and they had no idea and they were young girls. So it's a common story, isn't it?
Some people are kind of naive as to what goes on. I was even with the band the Smithereens, who are, New Jersey band.
Great
They were
band.
they were on Capitol Records. They they had a certain period of fame, and I'm friends with them. But when the lead singer, he was going to have a Memorial Day concert at his house, and I'm like, oh, we gotta go, and I think I'd only met him once before, and I just pictured him living in this nice big house, and he lived
Mm.
in Scotch Plains, and he lived in an old house, and there
Wow.
was ceiling tape on his windows outside,
Wow.
for insulation, and
Wow.
it wasn't like run down, but I'm
No,
like,
but
oh, okay, you have that sense because they had all these hits, and they still play them on the
mm,
radio. That oh,
mm,
they're doing well. No, that's not often the
yeah,
case.
yeah, I love their sound. I remember hearing it was a single off of Green Thoughts. I can't remember what the first single was, but
Well,
it was
house that
really
we
good anyway.
used to live in, only a memory.
Only a memory.
Girl like
Yeah.
you,
My
girl like
friends
you.
and I were
Remember?
driving. I could still remember they played that on the radio on the jukebox jury, they used to call it, and they said, "I checked this new song out from the Smithereens," and we all looked at each other like, "Wow, what a great sound!" Because
Yeah.
I always loved the '60s sounding stuff and the modern bands that can do that. It's
Oh yeah.
amazing.
Dennis is a huge Beach Boys fan,
Ah, okay.
and my friend Jeremy just sent me something. I think Dennis and some other guy are going to be at some book signing. I think he wrote a book about the Beach Boys. And I've
Mm.
seen them over 40 sometimes, and I think it was last year, year before, I went to Jimmy's house, and
Wow.
had lunch with him, and got to see his music room and the guitars that he doesn't bring with him, that he recorded the songs, and I liked
Oh,
them since '87, and it's like for me
wow.
something special,
Yeah.
and
I was really fascinated when I heard the interview with him and how because I thought they were still going. I didn't know, and how he told you how he had that job where he works in an
yeah,
office,
yeah.
and I thought that blew me away. I thought, wow, like that's reality for you.
Yeah, he's
But
retired now, but I went to his
yeah,
work the one time. There's a restaurant across the street, and we had lunch there. So the back to the DVD, it was like disc two. Like I said, there's a lot of extras. So you have different sections. Like I said, guitar, artists, drums, percussion, producers, arrangers, engineers, bass, piano, horns. So I'm gonna go back, and I didn't have
mm.
enough time to look to watch another 6 hour, 6 hours. The documentary itself was only an hour and 40.
Yeah.
Now I did watch in the guitar section. I kind of have the feeling this was, and I'm probably right, that it was what's his name, Danny Tedesco, the son.
Yeah, Danny. Yeah.
That it was his first and only like documentary. And like I said, I'm not trying to be like, pick this apart, but there's but just watching the one interview with, I forget who it was, the interview starts out and the guy starts coughing. And I thought that was just like, that could have been edited out. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
you're
okay.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
nitpicking. But the guy's like,
No, no.
and anyway.
No, that's a valid point.
But I think it's a good documentary. I think it's a good start to know who these people are and then kind of maybe expand and maybe listen to Pet Sounds or listen to, some of the stuff that they were part of, or even
Mm,
go into some other documentaries about the making of, the albums. Now, I
yeah,
can't say I'm
yeah.
a huge Pet Sounds fan. My friend Sam, we did a podcast recently where we're
Yeah, that
doing
was good.
album anniversaries. I don't know if you
Mm,
listened to that one.
yeah, I
Um,
did. Yeah, I've got Pet Sounds right here sitting above me. Yeah, but I know what you mean that album's
yeah.
a bit hit and miss, like some really good songs on there, and others are sounds like one of Brian's crazy moments
I
where
mean,
he,
there's some really good songs, but I think it's one of those albums for me that as a whole, I don't think it's a good listen. I have to listen. Maybe I'll go back and listen to it again. But
mm,
I'm coming up with a list. I just thought of this the other day of my top 52, and the reason I'm doing 52 is because I want to do one video a week for a year. I know it's
oh
ambitious,
wow,
but I think I'm going to
that's
record
cool.
like 20 at a time and then I'll start putting them so I don't get it's
Yeah,
not like a
yeah,
chore, but my
no,
52 favorite albums of all time. And I already came up with 50 like in an hour. So it's not hard for me because most of mine are, from the 70, say the Cars, Candio, Journey,
mm,
Escape. Those
mm,
albums you can just put on and like, wow, I haven't heard that in a while. And it's a good album all the way through. That's what I'm saying. And
mm.
there's a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
albums
yeah.
like that. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about the Wrecking Crew.
Not a lot. I mean, you've covered it really, really well. A lot of stuff I didn't know about. I'm going to have a look at this DVD later and have a
Yeah.
look. It doesn't. Yeah, it's just a
It,
basic.
I think you need to get
That
the one with the bonus disc on it.
yeah, this I bought this pretty much straight away as soon as it came
Yeah.
out. So they obviously got a bit of demand. But
Hmm.
the only thing I can add really is being a bit of a guitar nerd like I am. There's a couple of other guitar players that don't get mentioned a lot. There's a guy called Bill Pittman, and
Hmm.
he played on they reckon as many sessions as Tommy. And there's another guy called Dennis Budimir, I think his name is. And Tommy Tedesco says that guy runs rings around me. So like
Uh-huh.
he rated him even better, but he got even less recognition. But
Yeah.
he was apparently more skilled again, which is hard to imagine. But Bill Pittman apparently was real old, a bit more old school fashion maybe than some of the other guys. That's how I read it, a little bit maybe. But he said that there's two things interesting about him was I think his wife or next door neighbor or someone brought over Phil Spector when he was 14 years old or something and said he wanted to learn guitar. They knew that Bill Pittman was a studio guy. And
Hmm.
Bill Pittman said he had a lot of trouble teaching Phil Spector the traditional way of learning to read music and play because Phil Spector couldn't put it all in the box, and
Yeah. Yeah.
understand it. He had no concept of time, and like it was really bizarre because he ended up being an amazing producer. But the same guy, Bill Pittman, he started playing. Do you know the Dan Electro six string bass kind of thing?
Uh,
You hear them in all the Elvis movies.
okay.
So he would double the parts of the stand up bass player in some of those Elvis movies and the westerns and all that. When
Hmm.
they're dong, 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 that sort of
Yeah.
sound and that fuzzy sort of down. And then he got pigeonholed into only doing a lot of that, and he really hated it
Hmm.
after a while. But he said, "What could I do? I paid off my house, and he made all this money and had a great career out of it." But he said
Yeah.
60% of his work was playing this six-string bass because he was really good at it, and that's the sound you hear in all those the Brady Bunch and Elvis.
Hmm.
That's him. That stuff just blows me away how it can.
Yeah. It's all like, even though they're listed with TV shows, it's the episodes and it's the background music they're probably
Yeah.
contributing to not necessarily a theme. Maybe I think some of them did, the themes,
Mm.
but maybe even the incidental music that's in the back.
Yeah, and I think because sometimes people used to say to me, well, who's Tommy Tedesco? And I'd pick up my guitar and I'd play the intro to MASH, that B minor chord here. That's
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Tedesco playing
Yeah.
that. And you go, oh, okay, and then they go, oh, so he that's what he's famous for. I said, oh, no, he's done a lot of other stuff, but there's a lot of little moments like that. But I remember when I went, that's the only other thing I was going to add, was when I went to America 20 years ago, I went to Nashville and they've got like a rock and roll museum or something, Hall of Fame museum or something.
They have the country
I can't
music
remember.
Hall of Fame there. It's a huge
Yeah,
building,
but
if that's what you're thinking of. I don't
oh
know.
no, I went there too. That's pretty impressive. That's amazing. But they've got this other one. I think it's called the Musicians Hall of Fame or something like that.
Okay.
And they had a little. This is before I really knew much about him, but they've got a little glass sort of display of Tommy Tedesco and Hal Blaine's drums, I think there
Oh,
as
wow.
well.
Yeah.
Don Randy maybe, but they had the guitar that he played on MASH, and I was looking at it thinking, there's that name again, Tommy Tedesco. And I think it's after I came home I started looking into him and all that. But yeah, that's a pretty cool place too. The Musicians Hall of Fame. I hope it's still going because it had some really
Yeah,
cool mementos.
I don't know if we didn't come upon that. I just know when we were coming back, we were driving out of Nashville and we drove by the Country Music Hall of Fame. And I think that's where they have the Country Music Awards. It's got to be. The place is a block, and we're talking like a New York block. Like it's not like a little town block. That building, I don't know how huge, and I'm like, we should have gone there. I don't know what's it's a museum too. But I really wanted to go to Johnny Cash Museum, which we did.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that was, oh my God, they like had I think probably all the contents of his house in there. Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah.
Just seeing his instruments and but Tommy Tedesco, I got the feeling that he's a very humble person, very humble. Like he, and I love that. He was good at what he did. He did a lot. He contributed to a lot, but he wasn't like, hey, I'm Tommy Tedesco. He wasn't, no ego.
No.
And seemed like a very genuine person. So thank you, Ken. I thank you for joining me. And like I said, if you want to join me anytime, let me know.
Sure. Yeah, my wife was saying to me earlier, like, when did I first listen to your show? And I had a major surgery in 2023, and I was laid up in bed for a few weeks. And I came across. Did you interview Butch Patrick or something?
Yeah.
I found that interview. I reckon would that be about 3 years ago? You reckon?
Well, there's a comment on the Podbean site. That's probably when you first started listening.
Because my daughter used to tell me, "Oh, you should go on Podbean, and there's all this stuff." And I was pretty new to podcasts. I was pretty slow to get into podcasts, and there's yourself and another guy that another group of guys I follow from the States as well. And I know it's great. I love the variety you do with your music as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's really good. No, thanks for today. I really enjoyed it. It was great fun.
Well, thank you.
You've been listening to No Good Music. Intro and exit music by the band 99%. Today's episode was recorded live and slightly edited for your listening enjoyment at the Did You Say 7 Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find No Good Music on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, our host site Podbean, and mostly anywhere you listen to podcasts. Be sure to follow our Facebook and Instagram pages. And as always, thank you for listening. Transition music by Monkey Engine Hand Pump.